What if I told you the most emotional moment in Rush history wasn't a song, it was something that lasted only a few seconds? For more than 40 years, Neil Peart stayed behind his drum kit. He rarely stepped into the spotlight, rarely sought attention, and almost never broke the quiet routine that defined his personality. Then, on August 1, 2015, during Rush's final R40 concert at the Forum in Los Angeles, he did something fans had never seen before. He walked away from his drums and joined Geddy Lee and Lifeson at the front of the stage for one final embrace. At the time, it felt like a touching farewell. Years later, after Neil's passing in January 2020, that brief moment became almost impossible for many fans to watch without getting emotional. But here's what makes it even more heartbreaking. No one in that arena knew they were witnessing the last time the classic Rush lineup would ever perform together. There was no dramatic goodbye speech, no announcement that the band was finished. Just three lifelong friends taking one final bow, unaware that history was being written before their eyes. Even Neil, known for avoiding center stage, later admitted that walking to the front was totally the right thing to do, a once-in-a-lifetime decision from the band's famously private drummer. Looking back, the R40 live tour now feels less like another concert series and more like a carefully crafted goodbye. Officially, Rush never called it a farewell tour. Instead, they described it as a celebration of their 40 years of touring. Geddy Lee and Lifeson repeatedly explained that the future of the band was uncertain, largely because the physical demands of touring had become increasingly difficult, especially for Neil Peart. After decades of delivering one of the most physically demanding drum performances in rock, Neil was dealing with chronic tendinitis and other age-related issues that made life on the road far more challenging. What made the R40 shows so special was the way they told Rush's story in reverse. Each night began with newer songs before gradually moving backward through the band's catalogue, ending with early classics from the 1970s. Even the stage transformed throughout the concert. Modern equipment slowly disappeared, replaced by vintage amplifiers, old microphones, and classic instruments, as if the audience was traveling backward through time alongside the band. Fans loved the creativity, but many sensed something deeper. Every song, every stage change, and every smile between Geddy, Alex, and Neil felt more meaningful than usual. Without saying the words, "This is goodbye," Rush had created one of the most heartfelt farewell performances in rock history. And then came a twist no one could have predicted, a tragedy that would forever change the way fans remember those final moments on stage. On January 7, 2020, the music world was stunned. Neil Peart had died at the age of 67 after a private battle with glioblastoma, an aggressive form of brain cancer. Only a small circle of family and close friends had known about his illness. Fans who had watched the R40 tour suddenly looked at those final performances through an entirely different lens. Videos from the last concert exploded across social media. Moments that once felt celebratory now carried a heartbreaking weight. Neil's final drum solo, his smile toward Lifeson, the embrace at center stage, every second became priceless because no one knew it would be the last. Geddy Lee later reflected on the shock of losing his lifelong friend, describing Neil as someone whose intelligence, discipline, and creativity shaped Rush from the inside out. Lifeson admitted that, after Neil's diagnosis, the band knew there would never be another Rush performance. It wasn't a breakup. It was the end of an extraordinary brotherhood that had lasted more than 4 decades. Perhaps that's why fans still become emotional watching those final moments. They're not just witnessing the end of a concert, they're witnessing the final chapter of one of rock's greatest friendships. And the story becomes even more powerful when you discover what happened after Neil's passing. As Rush fans around the world found remarkable ways to keep his legacy alive. After Neil Peart's passing, something remarkable happened. Rush fans didn't simply mourn, they celebrated. Around the world, thousands of drummers posted tribute videos, attempting to recreate Neil's famously intricate parts from songs like Tom Sawyer, YYZ, and La Villa Strangiato. Social media quickly filled with clips of musicians thanking the man who had inspired them to pick up a pair of drumsticks in the first place. The tributes weren't limited to fans. Some of rock's biggest names, including members of Metallica, Foo Fighters, Dream Theater, and countless others, shared heartfelt messages about Neil's influence. Many called him one of the greatest drummers and lyricists in rock history, praising not only his technical brilliance, but also his thoughtful, philosophical songwriting. Then, in 2022, Rush fans experienced another emotional moment. Geddy Lee and Lifeson reunited on stage at the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert in London and later Los Angeles. Joined by drummers including Omar Hakim, Dave Grohl, Danny Carey, Chad Smith, and Taylor's own son, Shane Hawkins, they performed Rush classics once again. It wasn't a Rush reunion in the traditional sense. It was a celebration of friendship, music, and the enduring legacy of two drummers who left an unforgettable mark on rock. For many fans watching from home, it was impossible not to imagine Neil behind the kit one more time. And that's exactly why these performances still carry such overwhelming emotion. In the next chapter, we'll explore the one moment that fans say captures the true spirit of Rush better than any interview or song ever could. Ask longtime Rush fans why they still get emotional, and many won't start by talking about the music. They'll talk about the people. In an industry known for feuds, breakups, and constant lineup changes, Rush stood apart. From 1974 until their final performance in 2015, the band consisted of the same three members, Geddy Lee, Lifeson, and Neil Peart. They spent over 4 decades together, weathering changing musical trends, personal hardships, and the pressures of global fame without the public conflicts that have torn apart so many legendary bands. That rare bond became even clearer after Neil's death. Geddy and Alex have often spoken about how difficult it was to imagine Rush without him. They didn't search for a permanent replacement or announce a new chapter. Instead, they accepted that Rush, as fans had known it, ended with Neil. That decision earned enormous respect because it reflected the loyalty and integrity that had always defined the band. Perhaps the most touching symbol of their friendship came at the end of every concert. After taking their final bow, the three musicians would quietly stand together, acknowledging the audience and each other. No dramatic speeches, no manufactured emotion, just three friends sharing a moment they had earned through decades of trust. Today, when fans revisit those closing moments, especially from the R40 tour, they aren't just remembering incredible musicians, they're remembering a friendship that lasted a lifetime. And in the final chapter, we'll discover why that legacy continues to inspire millions, proving that Rush's greatest achievement wasn't just the music, it was the bond behind it. So, why do Rush fans still get emotional watching those final performances? It's because they're witnessing something that has become incredibly rare, not just in rock music, but in life. Three friends who built a legacy together, remained loyal to one another for more than 40 years, and walked off the stage with their dignity, respect, and friendship intact. A final hug at the R40 concert means more today than anyone could have imagined in 2015. Neil Peart's quiet smile, Lifeson's heartfelt expressions, and Geddy Lee's gratitude toward the audience now feel like a farewell that history only revealed in hindsight. There was no scripted ending, no dramatic announcement, just a genuine moment that became unforgettable after Neil's passing. Yet Rush's story isn't defined by loss. It's defined by what they left behind. Albums that continue to inspire new generations, lyrics that challenged listeners to think deeper, performances that set a standard for musicianship, and a friendship that proved success doesn't have to come at the expense of loyalty. Every time someone presses play on that final bow, they're reminded that some endings are beautiful because they're real. Rush didn't chase one last headline. They simply gave everything they had until the very end. And maybe that's why millions still watch those final moments with tears in their eyes. They're not mourning the end of a band. They're celebrating the legacy of three extraordinary musicians who changed progressive rock forever and showed the world what true friendship looks like. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. What Rush moment still gives you chills every time you watch it? And if you want more documentaries uncovering the untold stories behind rock's greatest legends, be sure to subscribe, because some of the greatest stories in music are still waiting to be told.